Good morning, world. Well, at least it's morning time here in the U.S. If you're tuning in from another country, happy day to you, whatever time it is, and welcome to the Patriot Party. I'm Matt, and I'm so happy to be here starting off the weekend with all y'all guys and gals. And before we get started, there's a few things I'd like to go over. If you're new to the show, I'd like to take you on a quick tour so you all know what to expect. And all y'all loyal listeners, this will just take a sec, so please bear with me. So here, what we do is we do unbiased news, general news, political news, world news, geopolitical news, financial news, technological news, and something called our very own truth news, which we haven't had in, I can't remember when, but we do have today. Celebrity news and gossip, sports, new movies and TV shows and their descriptions, and my personal pick of the week from my collection of shows and movies that come highly recommended by yours truly. At the Patriot Party, we are an all-immersive, conservative, America First movement that's not affiliated with any political parties, providing entertainment, news, and updates done like never before to get caught up on everything in one place. If you enjoy the content, we ask that you please follow and share the channel. In the description of the video, we have also included links to our X. The Patriot Party is what it's called. So if you can't get there through the link provided, that you can get there that way. Facebook, The Patriot Party. YouTube, we had to kind of change directions because of our reporting style and how much they censor us. And TikTok is an America First Patriot. Same deal with YouTube, happened on TikTok account. On Apple Podcasts, these links are clickable. And Spotify, they've become clickable. But on other platforms, sometimes they get a little jumbled up. So we included those page names for your convenience. We would encourage you to visit our pages and check out the content. I also encourage you to submit questions, comments, or even topic suggestions on Spotify, or just DM me on our X page. And the link is in our description, or like I said, you can just go straight to X and type in the Patriot Party. We are the only ones there. Thank you so much for your support, because without y'all, we wouldn't be here. And on that note, we haven't been here for a few weeks. And I know that I've missed y'all. I hope y'all have missed me. Been super busy. Told y'all we were moving into a new house, much nicer house. Now I'm not sharing a studio with a stock room for one of my businesses, so I don't have this cheesy little background behind me where if the chair bumps it waves. I actually have a studio, which you can check out on X on the live streams and see the America First studio. Super cool canvas flag up in the background, hand painted. So definitely, if you get a chance, check it out. Anyway, enough of that. I'm back now. I'm here to bring you your Saturday morning entertainment news. So let's get to the show. So lately, I have come out with a lot of things that I don't disagree, or that I don't agree with Trump. So before we start on some of the stuff that I don't agree with, and some of the stuff is literally just a critique. Like, okay, this is why this isn't working, but you can do this to work. People on X don't seem to take it that way when I add in a comment to a post or something, and I will literally, the comment to the post will get a tremendous amount of hits, but I will get hundreds of vile messages from these supposed patriots who just because I don't agree with something will, they go off. They call me all sorts of names. And I'm like, really? Really? So anyway, let's start off with something good. I actually I made a graphic design post I put up about it the other day. Some creator content stuff. But it seems that the Ukrainian economy minister Yulia Sverdlenko said in a social media post, "Together with the United States, we are creating the fund that will attract global investment into our country." Now, I've been screaming this for a while. I've been saying Zelensky acted like a little baby, and he was not seeing the full picture of what Trump was trying to do by going into business with them. That it was going over his head, that Trump was literally trying to stay neutral without staying neutral. That he was trying to say, look, I'm going to give you an olive branch, but it's not going to be, because Zelensky wanted assurances, guarantees that the United States fully backed Ukraine. And how can you do that and try to broker a peace deal? Now, that has kind of fallen apart, so there has been some stronger language used in this than I believe would have been used in the beginning. But it's still not as strong as I believe Zelensky would have liked. Basically, what's happened is the U.S. and Ukraine have finally done a deal over the Ukrainians' natural resources. It was solidified, and it was Trump's backing and ceasefire talks with Russia. The deal grants the U.S. privileged access to new investment projects to develop Ukraine's natural resources, including aluminum, graphite, oil, and natural gas. It has been seen as critical to nurturing Trump's goodwill towards Kyiv. I believe that's the capital of Ukraine, as his administration pushes to end the war that began when Russia mounted its full-scale invasion of Ukraine more than 3 years ago, which they have really amped up lately since the U.S. has kind of pulled out. This agreement signals clearly to Russia that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. And that's what the press secretary, Scott Bessent, said in a statement. So it's Trump, not just the judges. Although, all right. So let me break that down a little bit better before I go into this. Everybody, excuse me, I'm getting over. I know I'm always getting over something. It's this daggum Humira they've got me on that's run my immune system down, and then I got a little one. She's always giving me something. So, everybody's always screaming, and I'm not saying they're wrong. So I'm not actually saying they're wrong, because I'm going to get to some statistics. But part of it is Trump's fault, and we'll get to that. Those statistics are facts as well. And statistics buried within there. So everybody's always screaming, it's these liberal judges that are keeping Trump from his agenda. Well, there seems to be, there could be some truth to that. But Trump is also enabling this. He is enabling this to happen. So first off, let's get to the liberal judge. So 4 out of 5 of all judges who have put injunctions on Trump's orders, executive actions and orders, are Democratic appointed judges. Now, in just over 3 months, Trump has signed 130 executive orders, a record for any president in their first 100 days. And there's been 122 injunctions in one way or another put on these daggum orders. So a lot of it's all for naught. In his first term, he issued 220 executive orders, with 64 facing injunctions, significantly higher than his predecessor over the 8-year term. Now, literally, he has done more than 70% of nationwide injunctions, or he has had more than 70% of the nationwide injunctions against the U.S. government since right at 2001, occurring during his administration, despite occupying less than 25% of that time. A good little bit less. Now, let me give you the comparison to the other presidents occupying that time, like their actual records. So Biden, who was a one-term president, he issued 162 executive orders. 14 of them had injunctions put on them. And every one that had injunctions put on them were by Republican-appointed judges. Just like Trump said he's getting hit with liberal judges, 100% of Biden's were done by Republican-appointed judges. Barack Obama, he issued 277, and there were 12 injunctions over 8 years. Now, this is the one that really throws me down. George W. Bush issued 291 with only 6 injunctions over 8 years. His orders faced minimal judicial pushback. Bill Clinton issued 364 with approximately 12 injunctions. So my question to you all, do you know why this is? It's not just because they're picking on Trump. I mean, part of it may be, but it's not all just because of that. It's a lack of thorough review by White House counsel or the DOJ before issuing these executive orders, which is significantly contributing to the high number of injunctions and court challenges faced by Donald Trump or President Trump. Executive actions, particularly when compared to past presidents. Most orders have been kicked back for procedural issues due to a rush job instead of making them bulletproof to start with. He is literally giving them the key to stop him, to steal from him, to steal from now, I don't agree with everything he does, but a lot of the American people do. So let's just say he's giving them the key to steal from the American people by not being thorough. So we know his first term, we saw a similar pattern where a lot were initially struck down for procedural and constitutional issues. See, that's where I have a lot of problem with it. It was constitutional, because I'm very, very constitutional. Procedural is one thing, but you start bearing down and bending and breaking that Constitution, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. You get that from reading my handle on the on X or my community. America First Constitutionalist. Do not like messing with the Constitution. So, not getting the full DOJ input leads to sloppy drafting and legal vulnerabilities. And you got to ask yourself, you would think he would learn. Because if he didn't learn from his last time, repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, what definition is that, y'all? That's insanity. Come on, Trump, you're not insane. I don't think you are. I hope not. I hope you don't have a madman running the country. Why would you repeat the same thing? So, Let's talk about the past presidents. Let's talk about what they did. They typically relied on robust review processes to minimize legal challenges. White House counsel, this office ensures executive orders align with constitutional and statutory authority. Presidents like Obama and Biden leaned heavily on counsel to refine orders such as DACA or vaccine mandates, reducing, though not eliminating, vulnerabilities. DOJ Office of Legal Counsel. The OLC provides legal or binding legal opinions on executive actions. Presidents like Bush and Clinton routinely sought OLC guidance, which, like we said, is the Office of Legal Counsel of the DOJ, to preempt challenges. For example, Bush's post 9/11 order, let's talk about that for a minute, on national security were carefully vetted to withstand scrutiny. Interagency reviews. Orders often undergo review by affected agencies to ensure feasibility and compliance. Obama's team, for instance, spent months crafting the Affordable Care Act implementation orders to avoid legal pitfalls. And in contrast, Trump's administration has been criticized for bypassing or abbreviating these steps. So people that look back on his first term, legal scholars, they cite in 2017, Politico reports, they note that Trump's White House sometimes sidelined career DOJ lawyers or ignored OLC advice, as seen in the travel ban's rollout. Second term, the sheer volume of orders that they're putting out so quickly suggests limited time for thorough review. Legal commentators like Jonathan Turley speculate that Trump's reliance on loyalist advisors over institutional lawyers may weaken legal defensibility. The lack of rigorous review likely contributes to Trump's high injunction rate. So we have things that are coming out in these shoddy orders, I'm going to call them, like constitutional overreach, statutory violations, procedural flaws, and vague or broad language, which don't fly. And instead of him listening to his legal counsel, which that's what they went to school for, that's what they've trained for, that's what their experience is in, he listens to people who tell him what he wants to hear, not what he needs to hear. The same thing I run into with some of MAGA, not all of MAGA. There's some good people. There's a lot of good people. You know, a lot of them don't speak up, but I had a few that backed me up and said, hey, whoa, why are you attacking this guy? We want people that aren't bootlickers, what they said, that are critical thinkers in MAGA. We want people who step up and say when they think they're seeing something wrong, no matter who it's with, violations of the Constitution. And I respect that, and I love it, even though it's like 1 out of 100. But I see the same thing. People, literally, these fans, they would rather be told, even if it's false, what they want to hear, not what they need to hear, not the truth. And he's doing the exact same thing as his followers. And to me, it is pure ignorance and stupidity. Come on, Trump. You got to do a better job. So we're going to come back to that in a minute when we talk about what a judge did. But we have a story in between. So let me get that. And then we will come back to it because there's some misconception about this story I'm going to talk about next. So 3 U.S. citizen children. Now, hear me here. I said U.S. citizen children from 2 different families were deported with their mothers by immigration and customs enforcement during the early hours of last Friday. One of them is a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer who was deported without medication or the ability to contact their doctors, the family's lawyer said. Now, everyone who voiced an opinion on this to my exposed, we need to stop paying for these illegals. Well, they're not illegal. They're U.S. citizens. Well, their mother chose to take them, and we don't need to separate them from their mothers. And one of them even said, they're going to Honduras. They have better cancer treatment in Honduras than they do in America. No, they don't. Now, they may have it in some countries, some developed countries, not Honduras. As many of you know who may have been and spent time down there, you know they don't have better cancer treatment in Honduras than America. Now, some countries that don't put all the red tape up for experimental treatments may. So, I'm like, these people are American children. So I look into the story a little more. The mother didn't choose. The mother was never given a choice. She was tricked and never given the choice to leave her child with a caretaker, her 4-year-old, while they underwent, because I don't know if it was a boy or girl, so I'm going to say they underwent cancer treatment. And then, if they were able to survive the procedure, which kids are very resilient, so there was probably a good possibility, then they could be joined together later. No, she was tricked, and she was never given that option. And the child was a U.S. citizen. So, yes, the U.S., if you're going to deport the mother, the U.S. should have given that U.S. citizen who is a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer the opportunity to stay with a caregiver, get life-saving treatment. And that would have been an easy choice for the mother. Come with me and die a slow, painful death as I watch. Stay with this person who will make sure you get the best, some of the best treatment there is, and probably live, and then I will see you later, my son or daughter. Very easy situation if you're a parent. Now, let's talk. We're getting ready to get back into what we were just talking about. But before we do, let's talk about a Trump-appointed judge who has struck down his use of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. The judge said it just doesn't muster it up. It does not mark the standard of deportation. It only marks that standard to quickly expel nationals of invading countries. And your interpretation is too loose. Now, this is a Trump-appointed judge. This is not a liberal judge. This is a Trump-appointed judge. So, a lot of people on X, and to respond to me, their responses have been, well, Clinton and Obama did mass deportations. They broke the Constitution. Trump's just trying to fix things. No. I did some research, dove into that a little bit, found out what it was. I'm going to share it. They didn't break anything. Actually, they did what Trump should have been doing from the start. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Why are you using a 1798 War Act when there was a congressional law put in place? It was ratified by Congress for the president to use, for the executive branch to use, to do mass deportations. Under the guise, there was one under the guise of national security, and we're going to go over this. Why? Because, once you say national security, nobody can mess with you. So why? Why? Who is advising you? Is what I would ask myself. So let's first talk about Bill Clinton, who did a lot of deportations. So he used congressionally authorized tools like expedited removal, mandatory detention, and administrative discretion. Both administrations operated within legal bounds while minimizing due process, often prioritizing enforcement efficiency over individual protections. Everybody's been having a fit about people getting due process, and everybody has incorrectly been saying, well, if you're not here legally, you're not afforded the right of due process. Nah, that's wrong. If you're in the United States, you have the rights under the Constitution just for being here. But this where we're getting ready to go minimizes your due process. So approximately 12.3 million immigrants were deported, with 11.4 million being what they call returns, voluntary departures, mostly at the border, and about 870,000 formal removals, court-ordered deportations. So here's the difference. Everybody says, all these people were deported. Well, we have a little bit of a different problem now because Biden opened these borders up. Out of the 12.3 million immigrants who everybody says was deported, 11.4 were basically turnarounds and returns at the border. Not even 1 million were removed from the country. Now we have 12.3 at least, maybe more, that we would have to remove from the country, which throws a lot of swamp muck, I call it, because you got the politicians, you got they're taking it in front of judges that they know will rule in the way they want, which makes for what people are calling radical judges. And then on top of that, you got people using, like Trump, using the wrong wartime acts and not shoring his executive actions and executive orders up to make them as bulletproof as possible. Now, the framework for what should be being used is the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. What are you using a 1798 law for? This has only been used 3 times in the history of the United States, when you've got something from 1996 that expands the grounds for deportation for non-citizens, deportable non-citizens, and increases the penalties for illegal entry and re-entry. It makes no sense to me. It also expands the help and cooperation with law enforcement agencies. It established framework like something called the 287 agreements, allowing state and local police to assist in immigration enforcement, expedited removal. Then you have Barack Obama, who deported 5.3 million, including 3.1 3.1 million removals and 2.2 million returns. Now, that's a lot more removals. Some sources cite 2.5 and 3.2. So either way, whichever way you want to look at it, that's a lot of removals. He has the blueprint. He's had the blueprint the whole time. Like I said, why reinvent the wheel? I mean, it literally opens it up to expedited removal, processing without judges, federal immigration funding being bolstered by billions and billions of dollars, sharing between local jails and federal authorities. I mean, it opens it all up. Obama's era earned him the deporter in chief. So, I don't know why. I don't understand. I don't understand why you wouldn't use what's already been used. It's been effective. Economists say Trump's monumental bid to reshape global trade is likely to send inflation climbing in the United States and even trigger a recession. Trump himself said during a meeting with NBC that a recession may happen, but we can handle a small recession. He also said on the same meeting that about the tariffs, that our kids have too many toys. They don't need 30. They can use 3, or too many dolls. They don't need 30. They can have 3. And that we have too many pencils. They don't need 100. They can have 5. And I'm sitting there listening to this and I'm like, are you serious? Do you not realize that as parents, are you not that out of touch that at the beginning of every school year we have to buy hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pencils along with all this other stuff that we have to buy that there's large tariffs on that we have to supply to the school for the whole school year for the school to operate? It's not just about what the kids have, which you have no right to tell me or my child what they can have or what they can save their money and go buy. I think that's way out of line. And I mean, I know I'm feeling the tariffs. Heck, I'm planning a wedding right now, and I went to pay for the dress the other day to go ahead and put the half down on it to get it ordered and all that. And my fiance, she calls and she's all excited because we had put, we had said what we thought it was going to cost, and she's like, okay, well, I think I got it a little under what we thought. And so I'm like, okay, that's great. And so when I went to pay for it on the phone, lo and behold, they give me the price and they said, but we got to add a 25% tariff. How many Americans can afford this kind of stuff? I'm lucky I can, but how many? So the president has deflected blame for the weak figures reflected in the first economic report card on his second term. He is, now there may be some truth into this. I'm not sure. I think there's some truth, because I know that when one president leaves and another comes in, some of the prior president's policies do hang over, but he's changed so much so quickly that it would be hard to tell. But he says that this is Biden overhang. This will take a while, and it has nothing to do with the tariffs, only that he left us with bad numbers. But when the boom begins, it will be like no other. Be patient. We'll just have to wait and see. But, there was no crazy job, or there was no crazy reports. And now the difference between imports and exports subtracted from the GDP is the most on record going back to 1947. The economy and the consumer spending has been facing challenges remnants to the early 1990s recession. That downturn, which lasted from 1990 to 1991, was triggered by a combination of restrictive monetary policy, an oil price shock, and declining customer confidence. The current economic situation has drawn comparisons due to similar patterns of sluggish recovery and weakened consumer spending. One key difference is that the early 1990s recession was characterized by a jobless recovery where unemployment continued to rise even after economic growth resumed. Today, concerns about inflation, interest rates, and global instability are shaping consumer behavior in ways that echo past downturns. So we'll have to wait and see. This is really just a waiting game. And for him, with what he's doing, it's a tightrope walk. And he's being pulled in two directions. I hated to hear this. UPS has announced this week that due to Trump's policies and tariffs that it will be laying off 20,000 employees. UPS is a great job. It has great benefits for everybody that I know that works there. And it's one of those jobs that most people get and a lot of them retire from. And I posed that question on X, and everybody, what would you say to, if you could say something to the 20,000 employees being laid off from UPS and about, over these policies? And, I think one of the answers was, just keep your head up. Better jobs are coming. And it's the same stuff that Fox News is spewing out and Newsmax, and a lot of what they have an agenda. Most of these places have an agenda. Now I have an opinion, but when I give you the news, it's the news, and then I give you my opinion. But I don't have an agenda. My agenda is as America first. Follow the Constitution. America first. What's best for America is best for me and for you. And that's my only agenda. So we'll just have to wait and see and, see how this all irons out. This next story is actually an exclusive because it was brought to me by my 11-year-old daughter. It wasn't something that I found on the news line that comes out. It was, like I said, actually brought to me by my 11-year-old daughter, and I started doing some research into it, and I felt it was newsworthy enough to bring to y'all, especially you all that have kids or aunts and uncles, cousins, anybody that you're close to that are children. I feel like that this pertains to them, especially if they're around the fifth grade. I feel like this pertains to them, and I feel like this is hurting them, and I feel like this is antithetical to an America First policy. So there's something. So my 11-year-old brings it to me. She's upset. She's upset that this thing is getting canceled and that other students are not going to be able to do what she was able to do this past year. And so, like I said, it didn't come off any news feed. And it's something called Starbase. And it teaches kids to foster critical thinking, teamwork, and enthusiasm for something called STEM, S-T-E-M, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, through an interactive curriculum tailored to young learners. Now, the core STEM subjects, and I'm going to get to what's cool about it here in a minute, but the core STEM subjects are concepts like force and energy that often are explored through rocket building and launching activities, chemistry, experience such as chemical reactions or material properties, engineering, designing and test structures or using CAD software for 3D modeling, math, applying measurements, data analysis, and geometry in practical context, aerospace and technology, lessons on aviation, space exploration, and navigating, connecting to military and NASA applications. Exposure to technologies like robotics, coding, and virtual reality. 21st skills, teamwork, problem solving, and communications through group projects. Career awareness, highlighting the STEM roles in the military, aerospace, and tech industries. Sounds great, right? Sounds great. Sounds like it's something to mold and shape our youth's minds towards, especially the gifted youth, towards becoming the next great scientist, the next great inventor, the next great explorer, the people that we need helping keep our country one step ahead of our adversaries. So in January 2025, the Trump administration issues an executive order through the Office of Management and Budget. Now, this was a temporary freeze, and it included the Department of Defense, who basically funds Starbase, because they work with, as I was reading, the different parts of the military, NASA, and all the different parts of the military. The DoD reimbursed Starbase expenses. And then it went through, after the temporary freeze, Doge, which is led by Elon Musk, and I normally support what they do. And they justified delaying or halting the funds. Now, to me, one, cutting Starbase could reduce the pipeline of skilled workers in critical fields like defense and tech. And ironically, countering Trump's America First economic goals. This also, like I said, not only helps to inspire some of the brightest minds in America, but it inspires them towards national security. So I will repeat what I said when I first started this. This is antithetical to an America First agenda. Now, I understand cutting the federal funding for schools, for the federal government being all up in schools and letting the states control the school system, putting more power into the state's hands. But you don't cut programs that allow kids to work with federal institutions to further education and attract future potential into federal fields, which in turn is America First, because it gives us some of the best and brightest working minds to protect the American people. That doesn't make sense to me. That is not America First. So I had spoken about Trump's interview on NBC. And I think I already went off about the dolls. I kind of jumped ahead of myself about the toys and about the pencils. But there was two things that stuck out, not just that. The other was that he said that he was not above using military force to take Greenland, which is protected under the sovereign protection of Denmark and the Danish people, but operates autonomously and votes to make their own policy. I have no clue where anyone gets off talking about taking over another country, other than people like Russia and China, that does not want to be taken over when we are supposed to not only be the leaders of the free world, but we have so much going on here at home that needs to be taken care of. We need the military back here to work with law enforcement and do this huge 10, 12, 15 million person deportation. We need to get these people out of our country. But he's talking about using the military on another country? That is not America first. Between it and the Constitution, it's the very fabric of this country, but the very fabric of the Patriot Party as well. And I don't know how the world would view us if we did something like that. We would lose all credibility if we went and took over a sovereign territory. And then he said that about the pencils and the toys. I've told y'all I voted for him, and I would never vote for Kamala Harris. But really, the longer he is going, the more he is proving the Democratic Party right when they said he was going to be a dictator. Because telling people how many of this they can have and how many of that they can have, and then talking about the Democrats in Congress, the few that were talking about impeachment, talking about expelling them from Congress and hiding it behind the guise of, what they did during an election. No, you're trying to get them out because you don't like the fact that they're talking about impeachment. I don't agree with Democrats, but part of the architecture that the founding fathers used to build this great nation was built upon different ideas and debate coming together to debate different issues and coming up with the best ideas possible. And if one person and one party tries to stamp that out, that is not America first. That is stamping out what America stands for. Now, enough for the second on, me not agreeing with Trump. Here's something I do agree with. So the Mexican president rejects Trump's proposal to send U.S. troops to fight drug cartels. Now, he has designated them as terrorists. And under many laws, he doesn't really have to have her permission. They've gone into many countries before. Now it's good to get the support of the country. But let me go through it a little bit. So there's sovereignty in international law. And under international law, states have sovereignty over their territory, and military action by one state on another's soil without consent is generally considered a violation unless justified by specific grounds. Now, the UN Charter prohibits the use of force against the territorial integrity of another state, but Article 51 allows for self-defense, which the U.S. has invoked in counterterrorism operations. Authorization of use of military force, the 2001, after 9/11, past the 9/11 attacks, authorizes the U.S. president to use all necessary and appropriate force against those without responsibility for the attacks, and associates forces without geographic limitations. This has been interpreted broadly by successive administrations to justify operations against terrorist groups in multiple countries without explicit congressional approval for each action. So it is self-defense. The U.S. often justifies unilateral attacks. My whole thing, just like they did Bin Laden with Pakistan, my thing is you send your freaking special forces in, you know, your SEALs, your Delta Force, you do a massive, with all your different units, a massive one-night quiet stealth hit, take them all out. Because with the fentanyl and the human trafficking, child trafficking, everything, they are terrorizing. Take them all out, and before the Mexican president can wake up, they're all back in the United States. Well, I don't know what happened to them. That's what I'd say. So, the U.S. Supreme Court lets Trump's transgender military ban take effect. Now, a lot of people were getting this confused that Trump won. They lifted the stop on it, but this does not mean it was overturned for good. It will go back to the lower courts, and they will battle it out there. I'm sure there will be another stop put on it, another hold. There's a big possibility that it'll end up going back to the Supreme Court. These court systems, they go round and round and round and round and round, and that's why they take years and years and years and years and years. So an officer was caught speaking on his body cam audio at a pro-Palestinian rally or gathering. It was a peaceful gathering, saying, what are we doing? What are they doing illegal, before arresting pro-Palestinian students? Now, first, I want to say that there is no love lost with pro-Palestinian, organizers, supporters, whatever. But they are protected too, just like white supremacists, just like the Black Panthers, just like anybody that may say something that's offensive to you. They are protected. The Constitution does not discriminate, and that's why I love it so much. Just like I say stuff that other people may not like. I'm protected. So the person that's really championing a lot of this, I mean, it's going on across the country, but really championing a lot of these unjustified arrests and brutalizations is Greg Abbott, which, I've always liked old Greg Abbott, but he's coming down on the wrong side of this one. Because these officers, they're questioning the legality of arresting peaceful student protesters without probable cause at pro-Palestinian demonstrations at the University of Texas in Austin. Like I said, the audio, it actually provided to a Rolling Stone shows or story. And, these people aren't doing anything wrong. Now, if you take it past the level of peacefully gathering, peacefully protesting, and you do what they've done in the past, where they harass, intimidate, threaten, assault Jewish people, where they openly support terrorist groups, that all far surpasses what the Constitution protects. Take them down. Take them down, deport them, put them in prison, whatever you want to do with them. But this is violating the First and Fourth Amendments, and to me that is a big problem. You are crossing a line. So we have a new pope, and the news is actually pretty exciting. His name is Robert Prevost, but he chose a new name, which all popes do, Pope Leo the 14th. Now, he addressed a crowd of 100,000 people from the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. I'm not one for pronouncing some of these words. Anyway, what I was getting to is the fact of the matter is that he is the first, because they have disdained this before and not wanted to do this. He is the first U.S. Pope. That's huge. India and Pakistan they're about on full-scale war. They are back and forth. And it's actually was an escalation after India accused Pakistan of being behind an attack where gunmen killed 26 people, mostly tourists, in India-administered Kashmir on April 22nd. There's even some whispers, because they're both nuclear powers, this could get bad. It could. So I'm going to keep a close eye on it. So we were led to believe one thing, and that's why I say this propaganda. You really have to look into things. So I don't know if y'all remember and it's actually a girl. I don't know if y'all remember the student, Ramisha Ozturk, where they arrested her. I thought it was a him, but where they arrested her because they said she was planning, it's right when Trump said, don't do anything pro-Palestinian, and they said she was planning a pro-Palestinian event, and they have been holding her in a Louisiana detention center trying to revoke her green card. Well, a federal judge in Vermont released her and told them to, down in Louisiana, release her immediately, where she has been held for 6 weeks. Says she is to return to her home in Massachusetts. The judge says he found serious claims of both due process and First Amendment violations in her arrest in Somerville in March. He said her worsening asthma condition was a consideration of her release and her need to continue her doctorate studies. He also said the government's only evidence presented over the past 3 weeks was an opinion piece Ozturk wrote criticizing Israel's war in Gaza, which she has every right to do. We may not like it. We may agree with what Israel's doing, but it's her right to disagree. If she did not openly support terrorists or openly call for a riot or for a call to arms or anything that the Constitution doesn't protect, that's one thing. But she is not that dumb because she's getting her doctorate. She wrote an op-ed. That's not what was told to us. What was told to us is that she was organizing an ill-founded, illegal, pro-Palestinian gathering in March or something. Not in March, but March. There is no evidence of that. The judge declined to put a travel restriction on her despite the government's request. He said she's engaging in an academic career which could require her to attend out-of-state programs. The judge said his impression was that this is a woman just totally committed to her academic career. He said he found no evidence she was involved in violence or criminal activity and therefore presents no risk of flight. Boy, I tell you what, our government, well, there's something else. That's what they've been holding on and trying to kick her out on was an op-ed piece. And then they justify it by telling the American people who were like, yeah, I was even like it. I was even saying that, yeah, why would she do that? When Trump just came out and said this. Shame on me for not looking it up. Now, I will say that this judge, because we're keeping tally now, was a Democrat-appointed judge by Bill Clinton in 1995. But if he found constitutional issues and the government could not rebut them, then that's on the government. So let's go to tech news. Enough news. Let's go to some tech news. We have a few exciting things that's happened. Google Workspace AI enhancements. Google has introduced new AI-powered features across its Workspace apps, including Gemini, Chat, Gmail, and Slides. These updates aim to improve productivity with tools like interactive workspaces, AI-generated images, and podcast-style audio summaries for documents. Apple's iOS 19 preview coming soon. Apple is expected to unveil some of the first iOS 19 features next week ahead of its official WWDC 2025 keynote in June. If past trends continue, the company may reveal new accessibility features such as AI-powered eye tracking and enhanced speech recognition. AI deepfake job interviews. Hiring managers are encountering candidates using AI-generated deepfake technology to disguise their identities during video interviews. This trend is particularly affecting IT job applications where fake identities and AI-assisted cheating are becoming more common. Man, people will always find a way to take something and use it to break the law. They always do. Financial news. The Federal Reserve interest rate decision. The Fed is set to announce its decision on interest rates this Wednesday, while political pressure to lower rates is increasing. Analysts expect the central bank to maintain its current levels. 21 Savage's financial literacy initiative. The rapper has launched a week-long financial literacy program in Atlanta schools aiming to educate students on money management and financial independence. Go 21 Savage. That's a great thing. Trump tariffs and consumer prices. A new poll shows that 75% of Americans believe President Trump's tariffs will lead to higher prices. Many respondents want businesses to label how much of a product's cost goes towards paying the tariff. And let's remember, this tariff is like tax money going to the government. So we're being extra taxed. We're paying all the taxes we were being taxed, and now we're paying an extra tax. So, you can put perfume on pig poop. It's still pig poop. U.S.-China trade talks. Officials from both countries are meeting in Switzerland this week to discuss de-escalating the ongoing trade war. Experts predict negotiations could take months. What do we have next? We haven't had it in months. Truth News. Now, this comes off of the X feed when I see something that is completely false. I put it on here. I let you know who's releasing it. So you all will know, hey, if you get your news off of X, make sure you double check when it comes to these people. And actually, this same story, it was up one day by one person and it was up another day by another person. Actually, they're two parody accounts to make them look more legit. So the first day it was up by Donald J. Trump News at Donald Trump Ike, I-K-E, Donald Trump Ike. The next day it was up by Charlie Kirk Commentary by Charlie K _news. And it said, breaking, assault charges were filed against Representative Jasmine Crockett just now. She belongs in jail. Do you support this? Yes or no? I strongly support this. I just sent some little message that says, fact check it. This is false. Please stop with the misinformation. Put your hands together. Patriots deserve the hashtag truth. Yeah, I'm tired of writing all the long responses that y'all have heard in the past. It doesn't matter. Short, long, doesn't matter. I'm not going to take my time to write long responses. But that's who it came from, the false news, Donald J. Trump news, Charlie Kirk commentary. Celebrity news and gossip. We got some ACM Awards 2025 highlights. The Academy of Country Music Awards took place on May 8th, hosted by Reba McEntire for the 18th time. Wow. Stars like Dasha, Jesse James Decker, and Leanne Rimes stunned on the red carpet. Dwayne Wade's proud dad moment. The former NBA star had a heartwarming reaction to his daughter Zaya Wade's senior prom photo, showing his support for her big milestone. Tish Cyrus addresses Miley Cyrus feud rumors. Fans noticed that Tish Cyrus had unfollowed her daughter Miley on Instagram, sparking speculation about a family rift. Since spoken out to set the record straight. Leonardo DiCaprio's relationship update. The actor's romance with model Victoria Cerati continues to make headlines with new details emerging about their relationship timeline. Diddy's trial update. A-list celebrities were named during jury selection for Diddy's ongoing legal case, adding another layer of intrigue to the proceedings. Let's get some sports. NFL draft fallout. The 2025 NFL draft wrapped up, and teams are now evaluating their picks. Analysts are debating whether Shadir Sanders' draft position will impact his NFL expectations. NBA playoff drama. OG Anunbi's poster dunk was one of the most talked about plays this week, even though it didn't count. Meanwhile, teams are making last-minute adjustments as the playoffs heat up. Cowboys-Steelers trade. The Dallas Cowboys made a big move by trading for wide receiver George Pickens from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Experts are analyzing how this trade will affect both teams. Texans historic signing. Jaden Higgins made history by securing a fully guaranteed deal with the Houston Texans, a rare move for a rookie. New movies. We got some new movies. Yeah, we do. We got new movies. Nona's, a heartwarming comedy starring Vince Vaughn where, he plays a man who starts a restaurant run entirely by grandmothers. Expect plenty of laughs and delicious food moments. Watch the Skies, a sci-fi thriller that follows a group of scientists who uncover a shocking truth about extraterrestrial life, suspenseful and packed with twist. Juliet and Romeo, a modern reimagining of Shakespeare's classic love story, bringing fresh drama and romance to the big screen. Well, we got another Romeo and Juliet. We'll have to see how it squares up. Shadow Force, an action-packed film featuring a team of elite operatives on a high-stakes mission. If you love adrenaline-fueled sequences, this one's for you. Heart Eyes, a horror romance set on Valentine's Day where a mass killer stalks couples. A mix of slasher thrills and unexpected romance. Warfare, a gripping war drama that follows a platoon of Navy SEALs caught in a brutal standoff known for its intense realism and emotional depth. That might be all right. I'm not a big enthusiast of war movies, but sometimes they're decent. So new shows. Poker Face, Season 2. Natasha Lyonne returns as Charlie Cale, a human lie detector who solves crimes while evading dangerous enemies. Blood of Zeus, Season 3. The epic animated series continues as Heron battles gods and monsters in a high-stake war. Forever, a new romantic drama about childhood friends who reunite as teens and fall deeply in love. Elsbeth, the unconventional attorney Elsbeth Tascioni uses her unique perspective to solve crimes alongside the NYPD. Heart Eyes, a horror romance where a mass killer stalks couples on Valentine's Day. Octopus, a fascinating documentary exploring the mysterious life of the great Pacific octopus. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, Season 10, a new season of fierce competition as drag queens battle for a spot in the Hall of Fame. Queen of the Ring, a biographical drama about Mildred Burke, the pioneering female wrestler who defied the odds. Love Hurts, a thriller about a Milwaukee realtor who gets caught in a web of ruthless hitman and double crosses. And Nona's, a heartwarming comedy starring Vince Vaughn, where he opens a restaurant run entirely by grandmothers. Too Hot to Handle Italy, a new reality series where sizzling Italians must give up sex to win a cash prize. Now, my pick of the week. My pick of the week is The Lincoln Lawyer. It's a legal drama series based on Michael Connelly's novels. He's a great writer. It follows Mickey Haller, a defense attorney in Los Angeles who runs his practice from the back of his Lincoln Navigator. He's got a driver. He's going over cases. That's his office. The show blends courtroom drama with crime solving as Mickey takes on high-stakes cases while navigating personal challenges. This series premiered on Netflix in 2022 and has been renewed for multiple seasons, with the latest season adapting Connelly's novel, The Gods of Guilt. This is a great show. Get caught up because I believe there's another one coming out. Super cool. I mean, it's very, I like intellectual shows, a lot of intrigue, twist, turns, things that really have you thinking. And I mean, this guy is a genius when it comes to the courtroom. You know, it's really, it's a different spin. Like, Suits, they're geniuses in the courtroom too, but this guy it's a whole different spin, and it's really, really good. So you guys and gals enjoy this show that I have picked out for my pick of the week. Y'all stay safe. Hopefully you won't be eaten up by too many tariffs, and I will be back at you same time, same place next week. Have a great week.